Welcome to the class on Bureaucratic Management. Bureaucratic management theory was evolved during early 20th century. Max Weber was the person behind this theory. This theory is one of the first theories in the field of management. We have already studied that bureaucratic management theory is one of the classical theories of management, along with F.W. Taylor's scientific management theory and Henry Fayol's administrative management theory. We know that all these classical theories were developed to improve the managerial and organizational efficiency. We should realize that the classical theories were formulated to improve organizational efficiency by solving many problems faced by organizations at that time. Bureaucratic theory was also developed to solve the problems and deficiencies of organizations, both in performing its functions and responsibilities. Therefore, before entering into the theory, it is better to have an idea about the deficiencies in organizational performance and problems in management practices existed in organizations in those times during 19th and early 20th centuries. In order to understand more about the theory, we should know more about Max Weber also. Max Weber was a German sociologist. He was a historian and a political economist also. His full name was Maximilian Karl Emil Weber, but popularly known with his first and last names. Thus, he is known as Max Weber. Weber was born in 1864. When he heard the term bureaucracy, he was very much attracted to it and studied the ideas of bureaucracy and even wrote an essay on the topic. Even though many social and political authors had discussed similar ideas before, it is believed that Max Weber was the first person to use and describe the term bureaucracy in its complete sense. When we look at literature, it is seen that the word bureaucracy was invented by Vincent T. Gurney, a French economist, in 1745. Gurney created the word by combining two words which mean office and rule, and created the term bureaucracy, which meant the rule of officials. Rule of officials. Thus, literally, the term bureaucracy means rule by officials, or in practical sense, rule by employees. Thus, the term bureaucracy was used to denote the management of organizations and offices by the employees. Max Weber proposed a management theory based on this term, and his theory is known as bureaucratic theory of management, or bureaucratic management theory, or simply the Max Weber theory. As already mentioned, Weber was lived in Germany during the second half of 19th century. It was the period of industrialization. At that time, industrialization was amazingly transforming business and society in Europe, and of course in Germany also. Weber was interested in industrial capitalism and studied the economic systems where industries are privately controlled and operated for profit. We know that under capitalism, industries are allowed to run by private persons and they can enjoy the profit also. Weber was attracted to this and to this economic system, and he studied industrial capitalism and realized that industrial capitalism was successful only in some countries and not in others. He could understand that most of the business organizations in America were successful, while most of the organizations in Germany were not so successful. To study the secret behind the success of organizations in America, he went to America in 1904. He noted that capitalism in United States encouraged competition and innovation. He also realized that business organizations in USA were run by professional managers, but there was no such practices in Germany. In Germany, organizations were managed by the proprietors or investors themselves, and almost all decisions were taken by them. No professionalization was there. Thus, Weber could understand that the capitalist practices in Germany were not suitable for the growth of industries and organizations. At that time, German economy was controlled by a small group of powerful, rich industrial people who owned and managed their business organization. They were the investors, they were the decision makers, and they were the sole authorities of organizations. The interesting fact was that such rich and powerful persons managed the business as they wished. Most of such persons were authoritative in nature, and they ruled the employees not with skills and abilities but with superiority, authority, and power. One of the most important problems of this management was that majority of such managers had no proper vision, no managerial skills, and many managed the business with their personal likes and dislikes. Whatever may be the abilities and skills of employees, they were neglected badly. And powerful and authoritative management often led the organizations with their autocratic style. The entire decision-making power was held with the sole supreme authority. The employees had no right to take any decision. Even the day-to-day affairs of the organizations were decided by the authority. No delegation was there. In fact, the employees had no right to do anything without getting permission from the sole controller. If the supreme authority is absent on any day, everybody gets confused and they cannot do anything. If such a powerful person becomes unhealthy or dies, the functioning of the entire organization may come to an end. The dependence on such a single authority was so strong. That was the management practice at that time during 19th century. Max Weber would not tolerate these practices. He believed that such a one-man-centered decision-making process would destroy the organizations. Such an organization would succeed only if the leader or authority was a generous and charismatic person with long vision and leadership skills. Otherwise, it would lead to the failure of the organization. In some cases, the father ruler, who is charismatic and powerful, starts the organization. And when he dies, his son takes the charge. The son may not be a visionary or charismatic or an able leader. He rules the organization at his way and ruins it. Because of this, Max Weber believed that such an organizational structure and environment should be changed. Otherwise, it would be useful neither to the organization nor to the employees. As these organizations were functioned only on the orders of the single authority, they may come to an end if that single authority is no more. Heavy dependence on such sole proprietor cannot ensure long existence to any organization. Weber believed that the organizations should function forever, and they should exist for long years. Single man centered management cannot ensure long life to any organization. In order to ensure long life and external existence, the organization should be managed by a group of people. Therefore, Weber thought about an organization controlled and managed by many people instead of one single authority. He thought about stopping the single man centered management practice and to bring a management style with many authority centers and proper delegation strategies. Thus, Max Weber proposed bureaucratic management with a view to minimize the drawbacks of so-called autocratic organizations. Bureaucratic management has multiple decision-making points in an organization with a clear distinction between areas of decision-making and extent of authority and level of decisions. For example, who is managing your college? In a college, all the decisions are supposed to be taken by the principal. Under principal, different departments are there to handle classes in different subjects like commerce, economics, English, mathematics, etc. For each subject, separate heads are there. Under the heads, teachers are there. They can manage daily classes, attendance, exam, etc. However, the college may be under the control of government or any other private management team. But the functioning is done under the control of principal and department heads. The government or other administrative authority need not interfere into the day-to-day affairs. Everything will be handled by the persons or employees appointed for the purpose. In the case of college, the management of almost all things are done by the principal and departments together. For this, there should be clear and transparent methods of decision making and a clear line of authority and a clear distinction between areas of decision making. Head of the Department of Commerce need not take any decision on the Department of Economics. There is another head in Department of Economics to take decisions related to that department. That means there is clear distinction between areas of decision making. As per this, daily and routine matters can be decided at lower levels and special and serious decisions are taken at higher levels. Everywhere there should be clear rules and procedures and they should be strictly followed by all the persons in the organizations irrespective of their authority and positions. Thus, the policy and strategic decisions are the only decisions taken by administrative authorities. And all other normal functions are controlled by the decision makers employed at various capacities at various levels. Here, everyone can take decisions based on the limits of his authority and strictly based on the rules and regulations. This is the basic concept of bureaucracy. According to Weber, bureaucratic management can minimize the organizational problems to a great extent. Max Weber's concept of bureaucracy is closely related to his ideas on legitimacy of authority. According to Weber, a superior enjoys authority as long as there are subordinates to obey the orders. Here, the subordinates need to accept the authority at first. Then only they will obey the superior. The principal should be accepted by the teachers and the students. And then only he can take decisions. Thus, a superior cannot enjoy authority by himself. The interesting fact is that subordinates would accept authority and obey orders of superior only if the superior occupies the legitimate authority. If a teacher from the Department of Commerce claims that he is the principal and everyone should obey him, nobody would obey. In order to obey the principal should be appointed by the administrative authority. The principal should be appointed on the basis of the existing rules and regulations. Then only the appointment would be treated as legitimate. Without a legitimate authority, no superior can rule any organization. At the time of bureaucratic management, there were no such rules and regulations. At that time, how the authority was conferred? Weber could understand that a superior gets authority in three ways. They are traditional authority, charismatic authority, and legal rational authority. These are the three ways of getting authority. Traditional authority is the one gets out of some practices, custom, belief, attitude, etc. In olden days, there were people who occupied such authority. We have heard about the village movements among traditional tribal people, landlords and leaders. Such leaders were emerged out of cultural practices or traditions. Under traditional authority, a command is obeyed because of the belief in age-old customs, traditions, conventions, and beliefs. Under this type, obedience is given not to the rules but to the rulers, not to the superiors but to the person in the role of the chief. Traditional authority was enjoyed by certain persons and families as part of tradition. The persons who obey the orders of superior or Mupan are called followers. They carry out the commands out of personal loyalty to the ruler and pious regard for his honored status. The system retains legitimacy as long as the customs and traditions are respected in the people or followers. Traditional authority has no strong basis and it may be destructed whenever there is a revolt against it. Weber does not support such a traditional authority as he believed that such authority is not lasting and not effective, not supportive for the growth of organization. It is highly fragile and is not suitable to manage organizations. The next type of authority is charismatic authority. As the name indicates, charismatic authority is the result of effective personality, exceptional leadership skills, or charismatic power of the person. Certain persons in society enjoy such a charismatic personality, and because of this, they can attract and influence many. Charismatic people have special qualities and skills to seek obedience. They can easily get things done through others. Charismatic authority is effective as well as suitable to lead people, but it has some problems. In practice, such charismatic people start and manage their organizations with high efficiency and effectiveness. But what happens at the end? When such a charismatic leader dies, normally such authority is passed to the next generation. His son or daughter or any other may take the charge of his office. Such second generation leaders may not be as charismatic as their predecessor. This makes problems. The employees face difficulties in accepting such second generation leaders in the place of charismatic leaders. This makes problems in organizations. Therefore, such authority is also not suitable for organizations. Thus, there is only one type of authority remains. This is legal rational authority. Here, authority is created out of the rules and regulations. When you people come to college, you can see the principal there. You accept the power and authority of principal, neither because of tradition, not because of charisma. You accept any person as your principal as long as he occupies the position through legal means. When that principle is transferred or changed and another one comes, you accept the new person also as your principal. Here authority is occupied by the position and not by the person. In offices, the manager gets acceptance as long as he occupies the charge of manager. Any person under the charge of manager gets such acceptance. This acceptance is the basis of authority. This kind of authority is needed in organizations. Such authority is not based on personal qualities and charisma. Such authority is impersonal but legal based. Such authority is rational and passes throughout the life of the organization. Anyone who occupies the role of manager or principal can enjoy the authority. It transfers from manager to manager, principal to principal. It is continuous and everlasting. Bureaucratic organizations are managed by such authorities. Weber considers legal authority not only as the most rational authority but also as the most efficient form of authority. He considers bureaucracy as legal, rational type of authority. Max Weber proposed bureaucratic theory of management with a view to eliminate all the deficiencies of the then existing styles of traditional management and charismatic management. Bureaucracy is a system for controlling or managing a country, company, or organization with the help of a large number of officials employed there. That means instead of one super controller at the top, all the authorities and responsibilities are shared among all employees in an organization. They can take decisions regarding their own assigned areas of activities. Have you ever noticed the management of modern organizations? Management of government offices. Now, most of the organizations, especially the government organizations, are functioning in this way. How does a government office is managed? They are not controlled by single authority. There are officers at various levels and with clear and specific responsibilities. Each officer has his own responsibilities and duties. Each officer has authority to take a decision as per rule. However, everyone has certain limits also. There are certain limits in authority. This limit is determined by rules and regulations. Max Weber believed that bureaucratic organizations are powerful and effective and can overcome many of the drawbacks of other styles. It is to be remembered that Weber suggested bureaucratic management during early years of 20th century. To be more specific, he published his ideas on bureaucracy in the year 1905. Even after 100 years, the organizations are following such practices. In present day organizations, we can see an organization chart specifying the positions of all persons in the organization. At the top of the chart, there are top level management, including managing director, chairman, general manager, etc. Such a team occupies most of the powers and authority. Such middle level management consists of department managers and officers. They are also enjoying many powers and decision making authorities. Even if the top management is not functional for some period, such a middle level management is capable of handling matters in an organization. Bureaucratic organizations never depend on any one particular person or authority. It can function even if any one or two persons are not functioning properly. Here the persons are not counted, but positions are counted. The manager is the designation or the position. X or Y can be the manager. Whoever it may be, the manager should follow certain rules and regulations. He has some authorities and responsibilities. Thus, bureaucratic management system never depends on any single man. Here, no single authority can become authoritative or autocratic. Moreover, bureaucratic organizations can function forever without any break. It can function hundreds and thousands of years. It has no succession issue. Anybody can be replaced by any other. In such organizations, everybody has a role to perform, but nobody enjoys the ultimate authority. There is no single individual who can say final word in such organizations. Here there are official ways to do things. No personal likes and dislikes are relevant in bureaucratic management. Only official relations are there. And decisions are taken only on the basis of rules and regulations. No personal biases. No personal likes and dislikes are counted or relevant here. Weber never defined bureaucracy. He only described it as an administrative body of appointed officials. He also described its characteristics. According to him, bureaucratic organization includes explicitly appointed officials in the place of elected ones. The organizations are not meant for shorter periods, they should function continuously. The persons both in management and employment may come and go frequently, but the organization continues to function all the time. Second feature is that the administration of the organization should function only in accordance with the stipulated rules and regulations. Here, powers, duties, and responsibilities of each and every administrative position should be clearly defined. Next feature is that every official and every office is part of the hierarchy of authority. Thus, each and every position in the organization become part of the hierarchy. Thus, higher officials or officers perform supervision and lower officers are required to obey. However, if there is any complaint or grievance, such a person has the right to appeal to higher authority. The next feature is that in order to perform duties in an organization, the officials need not make use of personal properties and resources. That means in order to perform duties in an office, official resources will be provided to that officer. The officials have the right to use the official resources in a responsible manner. Even the pen, ink, notebook, everything will be provided to the staff for recording office transactions. Official business and private affairs are separated. Next feature is also very important. It clearly states that the office bearers and superiors should not consider the subordinates as their private property. All persons in the organization are officials and nobody has the right to make use of another for their private purpose. Employee selection and promotion are based on experience, competence, and technical qualification demonstrated by examinations, education, or training. There is no nepotism. Superiors have no authority to appoint anyone purely on the basis of his likes and preferences. The last feature is that such an organization, bureaucratic organization, should keep written records and documents regarding all official transactions. Administration is to be conducted purely on the basis of written documents. Practice of giving oral instructions should be completely avoided. Features of bureaucratic organization clearly describes the nature and principles to be followed in organization. Specialization of labor, formal set of rules and regulations, well-defined hierarchy within the organization, and impersonality in the application of rules. Every point is defined and described in very detail. Based on these 6 principles for the bureaucratic form of organization have been developed. 6 principles are formal hierarchical structure, rules-based management, functional speciality, separation of personal and public ends, impersonal decisions, and qualification-based employment. These principles are also known as important elements of bureaucratic organization. The first principle says that in every organization there should be formal hierarchical structure. We know what is meant by hierarchy. Hierarchy is the order of authority in organizations. Hierarchy is a system in which members of an organization or society are ranked according to relative status or authority. Such high-level and low-level authority centers create an upward or downward authority line. This is meant by hierarchy. In bureaucratic organizations, there should be such hierarchy of positions on the basis of clear and specific authority and responsibility. This hierarchy functions on the basis of rules and regulations. Here we cannot see one-man show or centralization of authority at one single person. Here we cannot see concentration of power in one superior. Even the top level manager cannot take decisions at his personal likes and dislikes. Here everything is official. All the assets and liabilities are the assets and liabilities of the organization. No personal property is there in an organization. All belong to the office. No personal control over the properties. Okay? The second principle is rule-based management. In traditional organizations, all the rules were prescribed by the top authority. Weber says that organizational decisions should be taken on the basis of predetermined rules and regulations, and such rules should be prepared considering all aspects of organization and its people. No personal preference or bias has place in decision making. Everybody should know the rules, and therefore decisions can be easily taken by the persons in respective positions. Decisions can be taken by upper level managers and they are to be executed by lower levels. All decisions are recorded properly. Proper filing system should be there to keep records and books. Accounting should also be proper. Third principle is functional speciality. This is about specialization. Special works should be assigned to especially skilled persons. For example, computers should be operated by those employees with such special knowledge and experience. Here there is no need of any inferiority or superiority complex. In olden days, this was not the situation. Traditional management style was designed to protect the superiority of top authority. In modern organizations, we can see different organizational structures. Organizational structure can be created in such a way to extract the benefits of specialization. We can see finance department under the control of finance manager who has specialized knowledge in finance. Production department is under the control of production manager who has thorough knowledge in production process and technology. Thus, there are division of labor, delegation of authority. Next principle, it is a separation of personal and public ends. Even though different persons are working in an organization, their intention should be common and it should be the performance of organizational responsibilities. Personal preferences and intentions have no place in office. When employees perform official duties, they need to have only official intentions. The official should not mix up personal ends with official ends. In the office, everything is official. Next element or principle is impersonal decisions. As mentioned in the previous principle, inside the office, only official matters are entertained. All decisions should be official. That means decision making should be based on official rules and regulations. Personal intentions should not influence official decisions. Organizations should function on the basis of law. A bureaucratic organization is purely a legal and official establishment. It is impersonal. Last principle is that the employment in organization should be based on technical qualifications. Selection as well as the promotion of employees must be based on technical qualifications and skills. Such officials should be given salary as compensation for their work. Moreover, the officials should be given required training before offering a permanent position with the organization. This is to avoid later issues on ability and performance. Such an employee cannot be dismissed at the discretion of authority. That means an employee who is appointed on permanent basis after giving necessary training cannot be dismissed at the discretion of authority. Weber presented the bureaucratic organization as a powerful and ideal type of organization which can ensure stability and growth on continuous basis. Such an organization is not functioning on the shoulders of single authority, and it can function for a long time even if the top authority is absent for some time. Weber believed that rational bureaucracy is technically superior and capable of attaining higher degree of efficiency. Now, one more aspect of bureaucratic management theory is to be discussed. It is about the limits of bureaucracy. We could realize that Weber proposed bureaucracy as a better solution and effective alternative to the then existing one-man-centered autocratic management system. The most important problem of the traditional system was centralization of power. Therefore, while designing bureaucratic organization, Weber was very careful in that aspect. He thought about all aspects and possibilities of power concentration into one or few hands. While emphasizing on the necessity of bureaucracy, he was aware of the fact that the bureaucracy has inherent tendency of accumulation of power. Even though many criticized him, calling bureaucratic management as rule of officials, he was confident about the effectiveness of the system. However, he suggested some mechanism to control concentration of power into one or few hands. These mechanisms have been presented as limits to the bureaucracy. These mechanisms or limits fall into 5 major categories. These categories are collegiality, separation of power, amateur administration, direct democracy, and representation. Collegiality is the existence of a collegium to take decisions on important matters. It is the process of decision making with the help of an advisory body or making consultation with some other officials. We know that in bureaucratic organizations there exists a hierarchy, and each position in hierarchy has some power to take decisions on his area. However, sometimes the positions which takes some critical decisions may become a power center gradually. To avoid such a situation, Weber suggested collegium. Weber suggested the principle of collegiality to ensure involvement of others in the decision-making process. Weber considered that collegiality would always have an important role to play in limiting bureaucracy. Thus, collegiality suggested to make consultation with others before taking important decisions. Even though it may slow down the decision-making process, it is necessary to limit the undesirable outcome of bureaucracy. Next limit suggested by Weber was separation of power. Here the decision-making authority is limited by separating it into different parts. That means no single authority can take a full decision under bureaucracy. For example, marketing manager requires one more marketing executive to make his marketing division strong. Here, marketing manager cannot appoint an executive by his own decision. In order to appoint a sales executive, at first the marketing manager must approach the human resource manager. It is the human resource manager who should take a decision on appointment. Still, human resource manager should consult with the finance manager regarding the salary to be paid to the new executive. That means in order to appoint a sales executive, at least 3 officials should reach at a consensus. Here, human resource matters are decided by HR manager, financial matters are decided by finance manager, and marketing decisions are taken by marketing manager. Clear separation of power is evidently clear. This is an example of collegiality also. This can be considered as the limitation of bureaucracy. But this limitation is required to make the bureaucracy or bureaucratic management effective. It may reduce speed of decision making. However, this cannot be avoided. Next limit is amateur administration. Amateur means unprofessional or substandard or less competent, etc. We know that the organizational decisions must be taken by professionals. We all respect professionals and believe in professionalism. We are demanding professional management in organizations. However, Weber suggests amateur administration. It doesn't mean that all decisions should be taken by amateur people. He is confident in professional approach. Still, he suggests the effective blend of practical thought process applied by amateur officials in taking decisions. Amateur officials apply their experience and practices to take decisions, and such techniques may be highly effective also. At the same time, professional experts can make proper analysis of almost all aspects of decisions and its impact. Here, Weber suggests a perfect blend of professional and amateur methodology. And he believes that this is essential to get more effective decisions. It may be felt as a limiting factor to professionals. However, it is needed. Next limit suggested by Weber is direct democracy. Direct democracy is suggested to control the officials from the thought that they are the final decision makers and they can control everything. In bureaucracy, no official is allowed to get a feeling that he is the superior and he can decide everything. Here the term democracy is used to remember the officials that there is some control over them also. Under this limit, Weber suggested that no official would be allowed to continue in the same position for a longer period. There would be changes in position. Moreover, no official is allowed to take decisions at his desire. There are clear and specific rules and regulations. The official is required to follow such rules while taking a decision. He is answerable if he violates any rule. That means the officials are not completely free to take decisions. They are also answerable to their actions. This is direct democracy. Next limit of bureaucratic management is representation. Representation means the presence of representatives to evaluate and control officials. For example, the government organizations are following bureaucratic management system. In government offices, we can see hierarchy of employees and clear rules and procedures to take decisions. Even though it is bureaucratic management, we know that there are elected members such as MLA or MP or ministers to control the officials and their decisions. Here the bureaucracy is limited. Representatives of public can exercise authority if necessary. That means bureaucracy is not a set percentage. Some limit is there. The representatives of public can make some interactions. Okay, these are the limits made on bureaucratic management. These limits are meant for making some controls over officials and to avoid concentration of power among them. Okay. Now we can look at the criticisms on bureaucratic theory of management. First criticism is about its rules, regulations and procedures. Even though we can see a number of officials in an organization and a number of decision makers at each level, such structures usually hinder and prolong the decision making process. Even urgent matters can be decided through its own procedures, and it prevents urgent decisions. Another criticism is about the role of employees. Employees are neither investors nor beneficiaries of the organization, and therefore they may not work properly. They may not consider the matters as important and urgent. Moreover, they need to follow certain procedures and need to obey certain rules. Some rules are rigid and some officials give too much emphasis to it. All these requirements together make the bureaucratic decisions slow and sometimes lead to red tapeism. Another criticism is about the official nature of organization. Under bureaucracy, the organizational matters are official and formal groups and procedures are allowed here. Informal groups and personal affairs have no place inside the organization. As long as human beings are working in various positions, informal associations and communications may occur. But such human aspects are not recognized in bureaucratic organizations. It may badly affect morally and satisfaction level of employees may be deteriorated. In bureaucratic organizations, there is limited scope for an official human resources manager. Here, everything is based on rules and regulations. There is no need of a human resource manager. Everything is official, and therefore no scope for employee evaluation, employee motivation, no recognition to hardworking officials, and no special considerations to efficient and qualified workforce. Promotion, transfer, and career advancements are taking place as per predetermined rules and regulations. This may demotivate efficient officials. At the same time, even the inefficient employees get same status, salary, and promotion. Even though there are many arguments for and against bureaucratic management, it is the widely accepted system to manage large business organizations in the modern world. Okay, hope that you got an idea about Max Weber's bureaucratic management theory. We can meet in the next class with another topic. Thank you.